Welcome to our video on astrological gardening, full moon in Virgo horoscope with astrology, planetary archangels, and zodiac angels to magically help your urban or suburban garden and or agricultural project accomplish success so you can feed your family. And this is going to be a time when we're going to be getting into the grand solar minimum more and more. And you're going to have to understand how to create a very healthy community and how to make your environment something that you can really sustain. Okay, now as we continue again to get more into it, it's going to get more important to be able to know how to harvest your food from God's own plentiful earth. Using astrology to increase yield from crops is going to be ever more essential. Now first, our disclaimer. Watching this video or reading the attached document is an act of spiritual willpower, and any such action is considered magic. High magic should be used with all mindfulness, since powerful forces of manifestation are unleashed. This is intended exclusively for entertainment purposes. I'm Pastor Rosemary, the Astrology Angel. I'm a Rosicrucian seer, biblical astrologer, Christian psychic, and Gnostic mystic. And this is a Readings by Rosemary angelic transmission. Full moon in Virgo, the Virgin achieves revelation through analysis of any system presented to the Virgin's perfectionist view of life. Virgo full moon is a transit that bestows a happening that is going to be given towards this lunar phase of completeness when it comes to daily routines, habits, and health. Therefore, families and communities become exacting in their dedication to a proper service to others attitude during this event. Food production is a basic human necessity that requires second priority, with physical safety being first priority. When caring for others, caretakers must first make sure that she or he is in good physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional condition first, so that daily routines are kept at their best quality for everyone concerned. Be wary of overdoing or people pleasing, and instead give yourself a good self-diagnosis, rest, and relaxation during this transit. Managing or taking charge of family and or community groups right through this event will keep crop yield strong and vibrant, allowing for produce curing and storage, as well as sustaining animal breeding projects. Now, animal husbandry or agricultural crop production are both good sources of fulfillment, generating not only sustenance for families and also neighborhoods and communities, but also they're going to add wholesome activities to any individual's daily routines. Excellence is achieved for urban and suburban gardeners and farmers when a full moon in Virgo, the Virgin phase of the moon cycle, establishes a precise amount of success at meals lovingly prepared for family, friends, and neighborhood block parties. Fixing up edible gardens and agricultural projects is an admirable and satisfying endeavor which is certain to enchant families, neighborhoods, and community groups, where people fascinated with these kinds of projects are able to entertain in many cultural traditions. Now, information about various cultural peculiarities regarding where, how, and what crops to cultivate become essential topics of conversation, including dynamic deliberations while individuals and groups assemble. Managing, planning, and assigning duties for participants is beneficial at this juncture. Vital vocations are learned, honed, and skillfully implemented while sowing, reaping, and storing crops in preparation for a profusion of precipitation, and mostly going to be chilly weather, chillier and chillier weather. So as we get into the years of the grand solar minimum, it's going to get cooler and chillier and colder each year as we go through this little ice age. Now, meeting for purposes of communing with Mother Nature, as well as concurrently with friends and family and social groups, help to form amalgamated goals when it comes to spawning edible yields for you and your family. Now, crucial gear needed to grow, harvest, cure, and store produce is able to be obtained through sharing or buying them or procuring them for you, your family, or your neighborhood, or your community project. A profitable analysis of proper suppliers, growers, and distributors allows for poise when in the midst of changing environmental, social, and financial global conditions, all due to Mother Nature's cycles and her laws. Mother Nature has very specific laws, and Mother Nature at one point shows everybody who's boss. Now, gaining information about diverse, ancient, ancestral cultures and religious systems, predominantly in regards to agricultural goddesses and gods from varied civilizations and spiritual traditions, is required now. When these systems and these types of things are considered, it becomes evident that we find many more similarities among cultures rather than discovering differences among them. Each culture has its own exacting astrological calendar, clock, or sundial, or other timepieces and regulators, or those types of regulator mechanisms with which seasonal environments are appropriately calculated, allowing culturally diverse animal breeding and agricultural ventures to really gain momentum and to really make a profit and to prosper. These ideas are primarily imperative during a grand solar minimum, such as the one, again, in which we now find ourselves. It's going to be a little ice age. And some people think it might even be more than a little ice age. Some people think it might become a normal ice age, but we'll just, there's a lot of people looking into this, and we'll see how this progresses. Now, during a full moon lunar cycle, urban and suburban gardeners will profit from amplified energy being directed towards the roots of any produce you have selected to nurture. This moon phase grants gravitational pull upon any water in the soil, although Luna is beginning her descent during a full moon, so her moonlight is excellent for cultivating bulb and root type crops like radishes, carrots, potatoes, rutabagas, and turnips. Full moon lunar phase is plentiful for planting biennials and perennial trees and shrubs, or performing transplantation of chosen crops, as the urban or suburban gardener or farmer gets down to the root of engendering healthy growth. This is due to a waning moon from full moon to new moon. Again, full moon to new moon is waning. It is essential to be aware that if one desires to exploit Luna's most ample moonlight, in addition to having abundant amounts of water, one should plant 48 hours before a full moon phase using seeds of beans, melons, peas, peppers, squash, and also tomato crops. Now, water in the earth will be pulled up by the moon, just like her influence over ocean tides. Although full moons have a more powerful gravitational pull, you may also take benefit from a new moon, which, while possessing much less moonlight, is helpful for cruciferous vegetables, lettuce, celery, spinach, or cabbage type of plants, due to the fact that a new moon also causes a wealth of water made available in the soil for growth of these varietals of produce. Periods of rest are equally important, and therefore at least 48 hours before the new moon is a good phase for fertilization, cultivating, and also harvesting or transplanting, relocating, or pruning of these types of yields and these types of crops. This is due to a waning gravitational effect, and as well as declining moonlight. All phases of life are important, and the urban or the suburban gardener needs to work within all of Mother Nature's spells. Full moon in Virgo focuses is going to give you an occasion when, due to Virgo being an earth sign and feminine or yin in nature, this is when an urban or suburban gardener should plant carrots, onions, and celery root, garlic, turnips, beets, parsnips, yams, ginger, and daikon types of crops are good. Also, Jerusalem artichokes, radishes, and horseradish crops. Okay, so we're talking about, again, during a full moon, specifically in the sign of Virgo, the Virgin. Now, Virgo full moon. Okay, Virgo is in the natural 6th house, associated with daily routines, health, and habits. Now also the planting of raspberries, strawberries, blackberries, bananas, papayas, nectarines, peaches, lemons, and limes are going to be viable selections during this lunar phase of a bright moon in the sign of Virgo, being moist and feminine. Now Virgo is a somewhat less fruitful because it's the virgin. For men it's the bachelor, right? So they're a little bit less fruitful, or better to say they are not really less fruitful. What they are is more particular. They're a more particular earth sign, due to possessing a high degree of natural intelligence. Therefore, during a full moon cycle in Virgo, be choosy about what you plant, because Virgo is ruled by the planet Mercury, associated with Thoth of Atlantis and Egypt, Thoth of Egypt too, and Hermes Trismegistus or Trismegistus of Greece, Mercury of Rome, Saint Raphael the Archangel, and Saint Paul in Catholic theology. Wait for a waning moon in Virgo to take on tasks such as cutting back overgrown landscapes, destruction of vermin, insects, and weeds, or enrichment and the protection of soil during a waning moon phase in this sign of the Virgin's lunar cycle. Now, Virgo, Virgo, again, it's associated with Mercury. It's mercurial, and Virgo is the nighttime abode of the planet Mercury, with Gemini being the daytime abode. Okay, so Virgo is going to be really it's a very intelligent. That's why it's particular. That's why during a full moon in Virgo, you have to be very particular with what you're planting. Now the Archangel Raphael. This is a Merkaba field, which is a three-dimensional representation of the Archangel Raphael of Mercury. It's associated with the planet Mercury. It's an elemental archangel of all the earth signs, but Raphael is associated, he's a messenger with the planet Mercury. Okay, so this is the two-dimensional Merkaba field representation of the Archangel Raphael and the Archangel of air and the planet Mercury. Okay, so this is a three-dimensional representation of a Merkaba field. Meaning rotating fields of light, Ka meaning spirit, and Ba meaning soul. So the Merkaba field is very important. Thank you. Now, the Virgo, the Virgin, is yin in nature, and it makes it an occasion of a moist, hygienic, and feminine energy, being a mutable earth sign generating frequencies of water of earth. So Virgo is water of earth, mutable earth sign. Regarding elemental associations, okay, yin, feminine, moist, hygienic. Now, due to the clean nature of Virgo's yin, meticulous, and feminine energies, it is also a lunar transit when urban and suburban gardeners are able to plant root yields or vine crops, as well as to protect and supplement the soil due to the Virgin's inherent nurturing nature and analytical talents. Now, elementals such as gnomes of earth are active at this happening and need to be balanced with sylphs of air, undines of water, and salamanders of fire. Now, remember that each quality is a necessary attribute of life in Mother Nature's great plan. Okay? Planetary Archangel Gabriel rules over Luna, although on a full moon expressing projection and expansion of lunar energy frequencies, such as can be used for healing purposes. So Archangel Gabriel is an archangel that is associated with all of the water signs. The Archangel Gabriel, so it's a water archangel. Gabriel is associated with the moon, so it's a planetary angel as well. And Gabriel is again associated with the moon and with water signs. Okay, so this is the Merkaba field of the three-dimensional representation of Merkaba field of the Archangel of Water, planetary angel of the moon, Gabriel. Okay, now Virgo is ruled by, again, the planet Mercury. Okay? And we've mentioned and also Mercury is associated again with Archangel Raphael, Saint Paul, Hermes Trismegistus, and Thoth. Okay? Now again, it's the nighttime habitation of this mercurial orb, Virgo, and therefore influences the elemental archangel of air, Raphael. We mentioned he was the planetary archangel of Mercury, who holds sway during the full moon in Virgo. Now Virgo is also an earth sign, so this is the three-dimensional earth archangel representation. This is an archangel representation of Uriel. Uriel is the archangel of all the earth signs. This is a Merkaba-filled representation of the archangel Uriel. It looks like a Star of David. It's in a three-dimensional. This is a Merkaba field. And it represents, again, the archangel of earth being Uriel. Okay? And Virgo's an earth sign, mutable earth. So it's also, this is planetary of elemental archangel of earth, who is Uriel. And this is also a shape which can be, becomes a cube. You see how it becomes a cube? See how it becomes a cube? And the cube represents earth. You know, it represents the earth plane, and it represents the planet Saturn. Okay? It represents the planet Saturn. And right now there's a lot of focus on the planet Saturn. As we get into the grand solar minimum, there's going to be more focus on the laws of Saturn. Now, because remember, as we enter the age of Aquarius, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. Okay, we're in the age of Aquarius. We're in it, but we're entering into it more, because I have a video about the Fatima apparitions, of which the first one in May, on May 13th in 1917, was when the astrological calculations line up with the age of Aquarius coming into effect. So we're certainly getting into now the age of Aquarius, ruled by Saturn and Uranus. Okay, the planet Uranus and Saturn. So Saturn's going to be more important. So I have some videos about the planetary squares and cameos and all of that, and some feng shui videos, because your feng shui bagua is based on the square of Saturn. And if you use it during the age of Aquarius, you're going to be very, very, very restricted. So you might want to learn about the other planetary squares and put some more freedom into it by using Jupiter square and those cameos, because these magical squares, if you're doing feng shui, you're doing magic, and you're just doing it, giving it a Chinese name. Western systems have the exact same thing. The Chinese are very generous and they really tell you a lot about the alchemy and about the baguas and all that, or the magic squares. So they're very generous. So the secrets that are held by a lot of people and aren't allowed to be told, but they're in a lot of books, but they're, you have to really be into studying that kind of thing, where everybody knows about feng shui, right? But what I'm saying is, if you want to get into some of the other planetary aspects, like the square, a magic square of Jupiter will give you a little more freedom, and maybe the magic square of the Sun give you a little more freedom. So you can utilize some of these things. But I've developed a system, and you can contact us about that. Now, because that's my Messianic Kingdom Age of Aquarius feng shui that I do, because I did study and teach feng shui and do feng shui for many people for many, many years. Okay, now, regarding the mercurial aspects. Now, since Mercury rules over Virgo, okay, it's important for planting magic to evoke, which is to call upon, to invoke, which is to call into yourself, which is taking on a God form, which is what actors and actresses do, or even probably models do that. They take on a God form. Or that's to invoke. To invoke is to call into your circle, like when you call angels into your circle, or a god or goddess into your circle, or something like that. So to invoke a mercurial zodiac facet known as the attribute of God the winged messenger for Mercury, and for Virgo, for Mercury, for the planet Mercury, found in Acts, the book of Acts, and that's chapter 14, verse 12, in the Douay-Rheims Bible, and they called Barnabas Jupiter. But Paul Mercury, because he was chief speaker. So the St. Paul is who? St. Paul is Thoth of Atlantis and of Egypt. St. Paul is the Archangel Raphael. St. Paul is also Hermes Trismegistus of Greece. St. Paul is also Mercury of Rome. So it's just that different cultures and different times use, different. They use different names to when in Rome, you have to sort of take on the ambiance of where you are, right? So you get along with everybody. But this is in the Bible, so you understand. And tomato, tomato. It's what you call someone is one thing, but you can't change the essence. Now, you can't change the essence, but changing the name does change something somewhat. So that you want to say it doesn't change it at all. To change the name, it does. Okay, but it does. You have to know it's the same entity. Now, Zodiac Angel Hamaliel rules over Virgo, the Virgin astrology sign. Okay. Now, speaking of the full moon, we turn to the book of Isaiah, chapter 7, verse 14, in the New Heart English Bible. Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. Look, the virgin will conceive and bear a son, and will name him Emmanuel. Information found in this document is based on the oral tradition known as Kabbalah, taught to me by a Rosicrucian clergy when I was but a young girl, the facts of which I've committed to memory. Thank you for joining us, and please join us again.